The balance of DPS characters in WutheringWaves has completely shifted due to one character, and that would be the magistrate herself, Jinhsi. Now Jinhsi has been out for weeks, and the fact that she is the hardest hitting damage dealer in the game is nothing new to us. Of course, there were some players coping about Jiyan being in the same class as Jinhsi, but Prydwen officially put that argument to rest with a whole tier list change. Nearly every DPS character has shifted in tier placement, along with Changli being added right under Jinhsi and beside Jiyan and Encore. Now I want to give my take on the tier list and provide some further analysis on the DPS characters and their tiers. However, one major point I want to stress before I go in any further is this tier list is based on the performance of each character in Tower of Adversity, so how efficient they would be in clearing and the skill required to play the character optimally. So it doesn't take into consideration factors such as longevity, flexibility in team building, and just the character in its entirety. Also, what the tier list fails to mention is that every DPS character is capable of clearing majority of content, ranging from Hologram Boss 6 to Tower of Adversity. So you can pretty much use any DPS character you want, but of course some will be better at clearing certain content than others. Now just before we dive into this, would really appreciate it if you could subscribe to the channel for more WutheringWaves content and drop a like if you enjoyed the video. Now I'm gonna kick this off with the queen of DPS, Jinhsi. The fact that Jinhsi is now in a tier of her own is completely valid, even when you are taking everything into consideration. As I have mentioned, she is the hardest hitting damage dealer in the game, and her most powerful ability would be the resonant skill. So dealing massive damage is a lot more accessible to Jinhsi than characters that would rely on their resonant celebration. Additionally, Jinhsi's resonant celebration is another insane damage dealing ability within her kit. So Jinhsi is capable of dealing explosive burst damage through both the resonant skill and resonant celebration. Jinhsi is also very easy to play and has pretty good team flexibility, as all she would need is a sub DPS capable of dealing coordinated attacks, which also means she has room to become even better as more coordinated attack characters release. So along with god tier animations, the ability to deal damage whilst in midair, and possessing the unique unison buff mechanic, there is no doubt Jinhsi is the best DPS character. However, I think it's right to mention that a character like Jinhsi, being able to deal so much more damage than every other character with ease, should have released many months from now, as the difference between Jinhsi and the characters just half a tier below her is truly insane, as the most difficult content becomes a lot less difficult with Jinhsi and slightly ruins the challenging aspect of WutheringWaves. Of course, with a character like Jinhsi releasing, it might indicate more difficult endgame content will release very soon, which would be interesting to see. But either way, Jinhsi is undoubtedly the best DPS character in the game, and I believe will remain as the best for many months, as anything more than Jinhsi would just be overkill. Now stepping down half a tier from Jinhsi, we have Changli, Jiyan and Encore just making it into the 0.5 tier, since she was originally placed in the T1 tier a couple days ago. So I am kinda in the middle, with Encore being in the same tier as Changli and Jiyan, but I'll get to that in a second. Now even though Prydwen have placed Changli in the main DPS category, I do believe she is a hybrid character, as you can run Changli as a main DPS or a sub DPS in dual DPS teams just like Yinlin. Changli's main source of damage aside from the ultimate comes from her resonant skill and the heavy attack when her forte gauge is fully charged. So there would be some downtime on those abilities where you would just be dealing basic attacks, which is fine since you can acquire stacks of enflammement through the basic attacks, but to play Changli optimally, you would be playing her alongside another DPS character like Havoc Rover, Yinlin, Encore or Chishia. Also, Changli's Ultra skill further supports her role as a sub DPS, since she is capable of buffing fusion damage bonus by 20% and resonant celebration damage bonus by 25%. So to make the most out of Changli's kit, you would want another DPS character alongside her to quick swap in and to take advantage of her Ultra skill. Regardless of her role, she would definitely sit in the 0.5 tier, as she can't deal as much damage as Jinhsi and wouldn't be able to provide as much support as Yinlin, but is an amazing character overall, as she provides silky smooth combat, can attack whilst in midair just like Jinhsi, parries more easily as her basic attacks have longer animations, and is able to jump scare enemies with her true sight attacks. The cherry on top would be her stunning character design with amazing personality. Now Jiyan is a powerful damage dealer that provides a ton of comfortability once you pop his resonance celebration, as his attacks come out in a flurry which allow you to parry consistently without having to perfectly time them, and you can group enemies together. Now even though Changli, Encore and Jiyan are ranked together in the 0.5 tier, I do believe Jiyan is the better main DPS character, since a core aspect of a main DPS character is to stay on the field and deal tons of damage, which she is amazing at and makes it easy to do. Now that being said, I do believe Changli is a better character overall, since she will provide more flexibility and longevity for your account while still being able to deal top tier damage. Now Encore is another strong DPS character with great team flexibility and is capable of quick swapping in to deal good amounts of DPS. Especially now since Changli has released, her value as a DPS character has definitely gone up, as Encore can be ran alongside Changli in a dual DPS team and would be quick swapped in while Changli's resident skills are on cooldown. Also, Encore would definitely be taking advantage of Changli's outro skill, as her fusion damage bonus would be increased by 20%. You could even run Encore as a hyper carry with Sanhua as the sub DPS, providing increased basic attack damage bonus. So Encore is pretty easy to play around in team building. However, with all things considered, I don't believe Encore should be placed alongside Changli and Jiyan, since Jiyan is outright a better DPS character than Encore and Changli provides a lot more value overall, in terms of flexibility, longevity, much smoother gameplay and better DPS. So I can only assume that Prydwen have been swayed by the fact that Encore works extremely well with Changli, so they should have them both side by side, which I don't necessarily agree with since we know who provides the most value and DPS. So I do believe Encore being in the same tier as Changli and Jiyan is a bit of a stretch. But if you think otherwise, drop your reasoning in the comments. Now another step down below into the tier 1 tier would just be Havoc Rover, which is where Encore might be better placed since both Encore and Havoc Rover are very much alike in terms of team flexibility and both being able to quick swap in to deal great burst damage. But enough of Encore for now. Havoc Rover is a great well-rounded DPS character that has definitely received a massive knockback from Jinhsi's arrival, since Havoc Rover's forte was the ability to deal insane burst damage and they were the hardest hitting damage dealer in the game, till Jinhsi dropped and literally does 10 times more burst damage than Havoc Rover now. However, it doesn't take away from the fact that Havoc Rover is still a great DPS character that is very flexible in team building and still deals amazing burst damage. Also, with time, Havoc Rover will become even stronger as the sequence nodes are free and the remaining sequence nodes we are yet to obtain provide some significant boosts in DPS. So Havoc Rover might possibly go up half a tier at some point, but as of now they are still a great and accessible DPS character for every player. It's just that Jinhsi really overshadows every DPS in the game, and especially DPS characters that specialize in dealing huge burst damage just like Havoc Rover. Now the final two DPS characters I'll be going over would be Danjin and Calcharo. Now just as a reminder of what I mentioned earlier, this tier list is based on how efficient the character is in clearing and the skill required to play the character. Now with that, it's completely understandable why Danjin is down here, since she is essentially the most difficult character to play in the game, as she is literally at death's door majority of the time in battle, so there's no room for error. However, high risk, high reward, as she is capable of soloing Hologram Boss 6 and she is a 4-star. The ability to spam her resonant skill in exchange for a HP being consumed is one of the most unique mechanics, which does require a lot of skill, but the payoff is huge. Also, Danjin provides the option of being played as a sub DPS character, since she can provide a 23% increase in Havoc damage bonus through her outro skill. So she would be great as a sub DPS for Havoc DPS characters like Havoc Rover, which is the only Havoc DPS we have for now aside from Danjin. So with time, Danjin will definitely exceed in the sub DPS position, and for those that enjoy a challenge, would be able to definitely take her into combat as a main DPS. Now the most unfortunate fall out of all the DPS characters would definitely have to be Calcharo. Calcharo does have one of the best character designs with great animations and can deal great DPS, but is extremely clunky and just has a couple massive issues with his kit, such as its forte gauge being tied to his resonant skill, which can be missed and would majorly punish you in doing so. Also, the resonant liberation is hardly ever fully utilized, as most of the time you would be interrupted by enemies unless they are staggered, which doesn't happen too often. So Calcharo has completely fallen off, but is still definitely capable of dealing great DPS. It's just that it will certainly be more difficult to fully utilize his kit than other characters. Overall, the special aspect of DPS characters in WutheringWaves is that they are all capable of dealing good enough DPS to clear majority of content. It's just that some characters are able to clear majority of content much more easily than others. So really, it doesn't make characters like Calcharo necessarily bad, but just a lot more difficult to pilot over a character like Jiyan or Jinhsi, as there's much more comfortability and much more damage potential with those two. So don't be discouraged if you see your favorite DPS in a low tier or a tier lower than you would like them to be, as they are still going to perform very well in your hands the more time you invest into them. And with that, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Would really appreciate it if you could subscribe to the channel for more WutheringWaves content, and if you enjoyed the video, drop a like. Also, comment down your opinion on the current state of DPS characters in 1.1. And yeah, hope to catch you guys later.